So then we've reached the third session for this lantern, and for you that has watched the other two, you can see that I increased the strength just a bit because I thought that the bumps was too small otherwise. So with strength of 0.05 I think we get something that looks okay. Other than that I just kept all the parameters that we added before. Okay, in this session I think we go through metallic and the glass. So we can start with the metallic right now. So I go up here to non-color metallic and just select the first one. So we have that. And then we have this to work with. And metallic, it's fortunately rather easy to work with in the beginning. So we can just go to material properties and then we create new. We can name this metal. I should name the other one as well, so we'll do that later on here. But right now, put that to metal, and as metal, we just can drag metallic to 1, and then we have it here. I use non-color here, and here we don't have that part at all that is carrying this lantern, and in some lantern, this part is non-colored as well. So we have some differences here. So what I will do now is more to look at this part here, or perhaps go to another one and see if we have some metallic on some of the other. See if we get someone here. Here we have someone. Okay, so here we have metallic here. It's rather bright. It's almost brighter here than it's here, so it's almost like two types of material. I think in this session I will treat it as one, and after that we will change it later on. So okay, it's rather white, and here it's exactly the same as we saw on the other picture. So okay, we go with some metallic, some gloss, and a little bit of bump, and then it will be fine as a start anyway. So I take down the roughness a bit, and then we get this more colorful or more reflective thing here. And then the next thing is just to make all those small bumps. In this case I would like it to follow the shape a little bit here as well. So I will in this case not use object as a map, I will use a generated. That will be more good in when we have all these thin long lines, because then it will be a little bit stretch around those lines, and I think it will look good to do it like that. So I press Shift A, input texture coordinate, and as I said I will use generated instead. And then I press Shift A, texture, and here we can just use noise. Noise is just noise. It's an easy way to spread things unevenly on the surface. So noise will be good. Connect that to generated, and I can put that to the factor here and take it up to see some differences here. And now you can see I can see if I can go a little bit closer. You can see it's a bit darker here. It's brighter here, it's darker here, and so on. And that is good if I want to have like different colorings on this as well. And that is normally something that you do to make it look realistic. But in our case, I will just do it to make all those small bumps. So I can take it up to like 1,000 or something. And then you see that I got small, fine things all over the place, and that which will not be like color changes in the end, it will be changes for the bumps. And I think perhaps even more like 1500, like something like that would be good. So then I draw this from the factor to my bump instead. So I push Shift A or press Shift A, and then I select the vector and a bump vector, and I take that to the normal, and I take the factor to the height here, and then we get really big bumps here, as you can see. So we just take that down really much. And we take this down really much. And now you can see that the bumps are too big. So perhaps I should have almost 3000 here instead. And now it looks better, but I think we should have it even smaller. So I get to 4000. And as you can see, we can use a rather high amount on the noise texture as a scale. It doesn't matter so much. So this starts to look good now, I think. I think I can press it even harder. So yeah, 5000. No, 5000 would be okay. It's a little bit visible as well here, so put that to 0.05 or something. Is it too small? No, it's not. I think it's okay. And now it's a little bit too bright, so we just change the color to a little less white, so it's more gray like that. And then we get something that is metallic and can take the roughness up or down a bit to get more reflections, something like that. So start in a way. So we can use that and spread it out to all the other parts here. And right now I've done nothing with the color more than put it to like, yeah, a darker white, so to say, or light gray, and put in the metallic to 1 and some bumps in here. So that's all. And now I just spread it out to all the other parts here. So I go to the non-color metallic and select everything first except the colored one, and then Control and the last one. And in my window here I press Control L, Materials, and now I have it on everything. And now it's really bright looking, and we can see that it didn't look so good because it's too shiny compared to that one here. So I can select that part, and then I just take up the roughness a bit. So we get it like that, and we can also take the base color down a bit, so we get a bit darker. And then I think it's a little bit better. I can even take up the roughness even more. It doesn't shine at all so much on this metallic here. So it's a rather dull metallic when it comes to reflection. So perhaps something like this. And as I said, right now when we're doing this brand new thing, we don't add so much of the details. So it will be like 3 base materials, so 1 for color, 1 for the non-colored, and 1 for the glass. It's just so we have like a base settings, and it will look rather good. It will look almost like a photograph, but then we can do some fine-tuning as well. But we start with this. I think that's okay. And then we have the metal in, we have the color in, and only thing we have left right now is the glass. So for the metal, it was not so much, as you can see, the noise, the bump, metallic, and some changes on the color. Then we are finished. And the glass, we select the glass. It's just to select it because we only have 1 here, so it's just to click it. And go to new material properties here, and new, and we can call this glass. So then we know what it is. And glass is really easy when it's just a basic glass setting. You just put the emission, the transmission to 1 here, and then you can see through it. But right now it's rather a lot of noise in here, and that is 2 reasons for that. One is that the base color is never 0 from the beginning, or completely white. It says so this has to go up to completely white. And then the roughness here is way too high, so if you take down that, now you can see it in a better way here. And if we have it in the camera view here, you can now see how it looks. That you can see right through it. Could be that we can take up the roughness just a tiny bit here as well. And now I have this lamp behind, so it's really shining this up here a lot. Then if I look at the part here, it's a little bit white here, and to make it white, then one way is to mix with something else, so we can do that. So then now we're talking about mixing shaders. So I will add Shift A, and then I add shader and a mix shader. So I select mix shader here, and then I need something, and I think I will use translucent in this case. So Shift A, shader and translucent. Translucent is good when you're working with thin things like leaf or paper, and you want the light to go through. And we want the light to go through, but we will in the same time color it a little bit. So we get different type of colors in here, and in this case we would like to have a white here. So we just have it on white. So I really have it to white, and then now it's really white. Then you can just drag here, and if you put it to 1, then this translucent will take over completely and you will not see through. And then you can just take it down, and after a while then you can see through it still, and then you have some white in here as well. So that's one way to do it. You can put even diffuse here or something else if you want to, but I think translucent works rather good here. So then we have the glass, but it doesn't look realistic. And the main reason that it doesn't look realistic is that the glass here is very bumpy. You can see it's going, it's not going completely straight, it's going a little bit up and down the line here. And the reason for that is that the glass here is bumpy. So we need to add a bump on the glass. The good way to do that would be to use the Musgrave. Musgrave will have a good spreading that matches this glass in a good way. So I do Shift A, input texture color, then I can use the object here, and I put in the vector bump. So Shift A, vector bump, put that in, put that to normal here, and then I can use the texture for Musgrave. So Shift A, texture, and a Musgrave, that I put to the object here. And before I put it into the bump, I would like to see how it looks. So I just take the height to the base color here, and then I can see that everything gets black. So we have to do some changes. So we take up the scale a bit, and now you can see we get some variations here. Can be hard to see, but if I take down the dimension to 0, you'll see all these changes, and they are a bit too small because there are bigger bumps here, or it's more subtle but bigger. So we can go down to, I don't know, perhaps something. Now I'm quiet here because I'm trying to find a scale that matches this in a good way. Something like that. Perhaps take up the dimension, but not too much. So now you can see it's a little bit brighter here. It's darker here, small brighter here, or just a little bit, and then we have it more bright here. So some differences all over the place. So not much. And it should not be so much, but I think it will work. So then I disconnect it from a base color, and I put it into the bump here. And now you can see that the line or wire in the end are completely out of, it's not straight and good anyway. It's really going up and down, but it's a bit too much. So as usual, we take down the strength and the distance a bit, so we don't get too much of it, but we don't have to go so low that we have done with metal and color here. So I don't know, perhaps something like that. You now can see that it breaks the glass a little bit, so it's not so sharp, nice looking, but it's a little bit bubbly, have some bumps on it, and I think it looks rather good. So now we have that in as well. So now that you have the glass and you have the metal with color and a non-color metallic here. And now you can say, okay, but this is really noisy. Yes, it is. So the reason for it is that we're working in cycles. So if you want to see how it looks, you should render it. And if I go here and render it, you can first see, so you have a normal size that we'll work with. And since you download a file, I know that this size is okay. And then you can go to the first one here, render properties, and here you can see that I used the render of 128. 128 is good when you just want to see how things looks, but when you're working with glass and other very reflective material, it could be so that you need to take this up a bit, and then of course you have to wait a bit longer. So if you want to see the glass in action, so to say, I would recommend that we put this to like 512 or something like that. And if I now render, it will take time for it to render. So it will go through everything, and I don't think we will wait until that is finished. So I just put this to pause, and then I come back when it's finished. So now my render is finished, and perhaps yours as well. And now we can take a look at all the details, because now it's time to fine-tune things. And now when we have it rendered, we can see what did we do right and what did we do wrong. I can add this into our normal windows. We don't have two windows here. We can put that in here as well. So we run an image editor side by side. So here we have my rendered, and here we have this. And then we can compare it and see what we have. And if I look at my render here, I feel, now it's a little bit too small to look at. If I take view, fractional zoom, 1:1, this is what I have in correct size, but I still think it's a little bit too small to look at, but some things we can see anyway. So if I compare the metal with the metal here, I think that, okay, I did take the roughness a bit too high on the metallic, so we should have a little bit more reflection on this metal compared to this one. So that is one thing. I also think that it's a bit too smooth here, so perhaps increase the bump for the metal as well. So the metal was perhaps a little bit quickly done here, so that we can fix. It looks also that we have some lines here. I wonder, let's go back to the 3D viewport, and now we have the glass selected. If I go close with that and go to shade smooth, will that change things? Or is it still like that? It's hard to see here, of course, but I think it could be so that, yeah, I think I should go up to 3 with the render here, and be sure that you use shade smooth to make it really look nice, because I can see the small lines here from the polygons, and if I go up to 3, that will disappear. Now you can see a rather noisy image. It's hard to see, but that is also why I use the image editor and use a rendered view, because then I can see things like this, and I can then act on what I see. I can see the same thing here as well. So that is really good when you do the rendering, that you can then catch all of these things. So 1 or 2 or 3 renderings where you go through everything and you fix things. And as I said, more reflection on the metal, and also a little bit more bumps, then everything should be fine. I think the paint looks okay. It's little, just a tiny bit too blue compared to this. And if that is about the color here, or if it's the photo had some environment that was green, it's a bit hard to say, but if it should be exactly as that, then our material here should be slightly more green in the tone here. So some small changes, and then I think we will be satisfied. So we go to the 3D viewport, and I select something of the metal here, and I take up the strength just a bit, so something like 0.100 perhaps, and I also take down the roughness just to something like that. I think it looks a bit too shiny here, but in the render it looked okay, so I think we keep it like something like that, 0.4 or something. We have the strength to 0.1, and then I think the render will be okay. We can take down this to 128 if we do more test renders where we are not concerned of the noise on the glass. You could see that on 512 you still had some noise, but that will be fixed in the compositor in the later session. So with these changes, I suggest that you do a new render, and then I just show you how you can use the compositor and perhaps also GIMP just to make the final touch of the first phase of your model here with the new material. So we see you in, or I see you in the next session, and I also just say bye for now.